Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Impossible Versus Matches, where we take crazy pop culture characters and pit them against one another. Only rules are we're not doing anything that has already happened or things that are widely talked about, and we're not doing real people. Join with me is my good friend Rachel once again. Say hello, Rachel. Introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
And we are going to go through some more. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay, go ahead and spin your wheel and give me my first choice.
Let's see. We have Alex the Lion from Madagascar.
Okay, perfect. And I've got Alex the Lion versus. Okay, I'm happy to get this out of the way because I'm not super stoked on any matchup, but it's Alex the Lion versus Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay.
So, all right. So how does this work? Okay, so Wonder Woman on her island of Themyscira just happens to be really close to Madagascar.
Neighbors.
Yep, they're pretty close, but but like everywhere else, they can't see Themyscira at all. So, in an effort to escape Madagascar, now I'm not using like the extended universe. I just the extended lore of Madagascar. I know they end up in Europe, even though the movie's still called Madagascar. But you know what? Screw it. It's called Madagascar. They're in Madagascar. that's
Fair.
that's the scenario. In an effort to escape Madagascar, um, the animals from Madagascar, except for King Julian, because I don't need that in this scenario. They end up, they're swimming. They decide, you know what, screw it, we're going to go by sea, and they create they create a raft of some sort,
Okay.
and they keep sailing, and they end up going through the force field that shields Wonder Woman's island from the rest of the world. Because as we see in the Wonder Woman movie, it doesn't actually take a lot to find the island. You just have to stumble upon it accidentally. It's not like the force field blocks anything from
Mhm.
going inside of it. It just hides it. So they go through, and there's a bit of a storm. They're not doing so well, not doing so hot, and um, the Amazons see the raft approaching, and they launch an attack because it's not one of them, and they hate all the outsiders. Um, they end up washing ashore, or at least just Alex does, and the only other one that matters, the Marty, the zebra, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and the thing about Themyscira is that there are no men. There are also no male animals there. Little known fact.
Oh.
Probably not a fact. Probably something I just made up. But you know what?
We're rolling with it.
We're doing Madagascar versus Wonder Woman, so they're already outsiders because they are males.
Yeah.
Um, but what's worse is that they're talking animals. So going by DC lore, um, Wonder Woman actually, after they're captured and they're taken to like the main area where, like, she is, interrogating them or whatever, but she comes to the conclusion, because they're talking humanoid animals, that they are actually um agents of Gorilla Grodd, the DC villain who is a talking gorilla. Because naturally, where else would the talking animals come from?
Makes sense.
So
Makes sense.
she thinks that they're evil, so she decides they need to go to the dungeon or whatever. um Marty doesn't make it. That doesn't matter. This is about Alex.
Yeah.
Alex uses his lion strength to kind of bust out of the prison, and Wonder Woman, and he's in Madagascar fashion, like, oh, I've got to get out of here. Like, very DreamWorks, but basically imagine the grittiness of a DC movie, but then there's just a cartoon lion
Yeah.
running around. So Wonder Woman, um, heads him off and is like, you won't get, and is like, you won't get out of here alive. And he's like, but I have to get back to Madagascar or something. And
Yeah.
so they just have it out. It doesn't last very long at all.
No.
Well, that's how Wonder Woman fights Alex from Madagascar.
That was good.
The cinematic classic known as Madagascar.
Yes, yes.
It is your turn, so I'm going to spin the wheel for you.
Thank you.
Meet George Jetson. He's in
George.
the versus match.
Okay.
George Jetson from the Jetsons.
The Jetsons. Okay.
The Hanna-Barbera classic?
Versus Jess from New Girl. Okay.
Well, I'm glad you got this because I've never once seen New Girl.
Another classic. I think I went with a lot of like TV show characters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Putting characters from like TV shows and sitcoms is, easy bait for just having a funny matchup.
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
What can you tell me about
Jess?
Character?
Okay, Jess is the quirky girl. She's got bangs. Kind of like, I don't want to say the epitome of not like other girls, but she's just this quirky school teacher. She lives with 3 guys. She found on the internet after going through a breakup. Although I watched the Jetsons as a kid.
Yeah.
George is the dad, right?
Yeah. Do you need me to break down George Jetson like real quick?
Yeah, just to give me some more like information to go off of for the story.
I'll give you a bit of some ammunition to help you. So George Jetson easily just, he's the family man, he's the dad. Yeah. Since he comes from that animation era of like the Flintstones, like Honeymooners ripoffs from Hanna-Barbera, probably a little bit sexist, like, oh, I'm a man, I do the work. An episode that sticks out to me is the Women Drivers episode of the Jetsons, which is where like his wife Jane starts like driving and she just immediately like gets into like a pileup or whatever, and everyone's like, women drivers. It does not age very well.
Oh, no, it's terrible.
So he's like the family man. He works for a sprocket company, he works for like a cog in a factory sort of deal, but he is from the future. So any sort of classic like 50s-esque futuristic technology you can think of.
Okay.
But yeah, probably a little bit sexist. Family man, like the classic family man, where it's like, oh, I just want to relax at home watching TV with a beer type guy. And his son's like a genius inventor.
Okay.
So that's really all there is to know. And he has
okay. I got stuff to roll with.
Yep.
So Jess is a school teacher.
Okay.
We'll say that put them in the same time era. We're just gonna go ahead and do that. His son is one of Jess's kids.
Real quick, are you putting George in our current day, or are you putting her in the future?
We'll put him in current day.
Okay.
I feel like I could work with that a little better just because I know I've watched New Girl more recently.
All right.
I feel like I know it better. So George, let's try that again. One of the son is one of Jess's students at school. And there's a science fair, and he creates this awesome invention to put into the science fair, and we'll say it's a time machine.
Perfect, because he actually has invented a time machine. That's how you get.
I remember that.
Flintstones.
Yeah. So the science fair comes along. Being family man, dad, George was like, I'm gonna go support my son at the science fair.
Right.
And Jess just happens to be one of the judges. So he should be a shoo-in to win. He invented a time machine, How could that not win?
Right.
Well, he doesn't.
It's like the judges from the Fantastic Four movie.
Exactly.
You invented a teleporter. I don't think that exists.
Yes, they're like, oh, cute time machine, not really science. Nice try. Here's a participation ribbon.
Oh no.
The baking soda volcano wins.
Of course it does. It always wins.
It always wins. So George, he saw his son working hard on that. He's pissed.
Right.
How could the time machine not? How does a volcano beat a time machine? So, in dad fashion, he, goes up to the judges, Jess being one, and just doesn't understand why it didn't win. Just explains, it's a cute toy, but it's not really science. We can't just let him win because he created a fun little gadget that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But George knows it works, and George went to the future. George has a ray gun.
Okay.
So
you're suggesting that George Jetson goes to the future because his son doesn't win a science project, and then comes back to start
he tested. He tested the time machine during the building stage for George to make sure it would work, and went to the future and came back. So they have some of their technology. He has a futuristic ray gun, and he decides to hold Jess, the new girl, hostage.
Yeah.
Then her roommate Schmidt is there to support her. And he sees, his roommate who he and friend who he cares about. So distraught and held hostage. So he decides to jump George Jetson. And then the ray gun falls out, and Jess now has a ray gun, but she's anti-violence. She's, peace, love, respect. Not about the gun. Does not like it. So she throws it away.
Yeah.
And then they just start having a verbal fight, having it out over this volcano as the gymnasium slowly, empties out because the science fair's over.
Honestly, I can see this. I can totally see George getting mad to the point where he's like if we go the Adult Swim route and where every Hanna-Barbera character is has a dark,
just pushed him to the limit. He had a rough day at work, and now he had to go to his son's science fair, and it just did not go the way it should have.
I'm down with that. I'm surprised you didn't go the route of, since you had to make a time machine, I'm surprised you didn't just have him use a time machine to go back to New Girl.
Too obvious.
You know what? Perfect. That's exactly the type of thinking we want on this show.
Exactly.
It's too obvious, it doesn't work. Perfect. Great.
All right.
All right, go ahead and spin your wheel then. I guess we'll move on to the next
spin.
one.
Yes, okay. Derek Zoolander.
Derek Zoolander. Ooh, okay. Zoolander versus... We just did time travel, so I'm gonna not use those characters. And this is a super lame matchup, but I guess I'll use it.
Oh no.
So I'm digging into the realm of obscurity for you, I'm sure, because I got Dagwood from the Blondie newspaper comic.
Oh, okay.
So
that is a weird matchup. Yeah, I could see it.
I reached really far. I put him on the list before I invited you on the show because I figured Jason would get a big laugh out of it. Dagwood from Blondie, all I really know about him is he likes sandwiches. That's his whole thing, is he loves sandwiches.
Yeah.
So who was your character again, real quick?
Zoolander.
Zoolander. Okay. Zoolander's doing a fashion show in wherever Blondie takes place. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Um, and like Blondie is Dagwood's wife, and she wants to go to the fashion show. Dagwood does not want to go to the fashion show. He
Yeah.
wants to sit at home and watch, football or whatever with a sandwich.
Yeah.
They watch the show. Zoolander does his stuff, and Dag was just like, I don't know what this is all about, because I feel like due to the age of how old the Blondie comic is, Dagwood probably is not as accepting of the
Male
male
model.
fashion scene as anyone else would be.
Yeah.
Probably not to the point where he's like, oh, I really hate these guys. Not to the point where it'd probably be like homophobic or anything, because I feel like he's like a nice guy, but he's probably just like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
It'd be like the most macho man going to like a drag show or something. They just wouldn't be into it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. He's there because his wife wanted to go there, but then it's like the after party, so like where everyone's like mingling afterward. Now, as a celebrity, because the comic's been around for quite a
Yeah.
while, he's allowed to attend the after party, and he sees that there's like the food bar, and he's like, perfect, I can make a sandwich. So starts he just takes all of like the hors d'oeuvres and stuff that they have there and just makes a sandwich, because he's known for making like those shaggy
Big.
Scooby-Doo like
Yeah.
type sandwiches, the ones that are just impossible to eat. Like, why would you even try at that
Yeah.
point? Like, he makes that, and he's like, oh, all right, and he turns around, bumps into Zoolander, and actually gets the sandwich all over Zoolander's clothes.
Ooh.
And Zoolander like looks down, and he looks up, he's like, and he says just something like, oh, that fat'll ruin your pores. Or something like that. Like something that like comes off as aggressive, but it's actually passive aggressive, but like
Yeah.
not. But he doesn't like that Zoolander insulted his sandwich.
Yeah.
So he says something that's like equally snippy. Like, he thinks his outfit looks like a circus tent. Because it
Zoolander takes
does.
that personally.
Yeah, Zoolander takes that personally, and he snaps back with like, "Oh yeah, well I wear it like it's not." Or like
Oh,
Zoolander,
yeah.
and
Zoolander fashion.
and then I think like Dag would have said something like, "Oh yeah, well that guy could wear it better." And he just points to some like random dude who is not Zoolander, and Zoolander is like, "He's not on my level," and so he slaps him. He slaps him, and again, I don't know much about Dagwood, but I feel like he's not a slapping individual. He's a punching individual, when it comes
Like
to
a
it. Yeah.
wind up.
Yeah, the little like wind up, comic book punch, like comic strip punch. He punches him, and then neither of them are fighters really. It's just
Yeah. I feel
Dagwood
like
is
a lot of this would be verbal exchange.
Dagwood is a little less like, well, just a little less like feminine than Zoolander is in his fighting style. so basically they just end up having a brawl, and they like knock over the food table and stuff, and they're just fighting like in the food. They're like Dagwood is punching, Zoolander is like slapping and stuff,
Yeah.
but neither of them are actually they're both doing the same amount of damage to each other.
Yeah. I feel like there'd be like a lot of movement, but with like minimal damage. Like neither of them are really fighting; they're just
Yeah,
moving.
they're really just struggling the
Yeah.
whole time,
Yeah.
and it basically just keeps going until I forget his name, but Owen Wilson's character pulls Zoolander off, and Blondie pulls Dagwood off, and Zoolander's like, "This isn't over." And they just get pulled away, and it starts like a feud that is the
Never ending. I
It
feel
just
like Blondie would be very like mad and embarrassed.
probably she'd probably just be like, "Why did you do that?"
Yeah.
And he'd be like, "He insulted the sandwich. His clothes ate my sandwich," or something.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the Blondie strip at all. I just thought putting this antiquated comic strip character in a fight with anyone would make gold. But I
Yeah.
think against I was able to pull something out, pull something out of my ass for that one.
Not too shabby.
Zoolander is just like, all those carbs will ruin your body. This I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with the Dagwood matchup. It's your turn, and it looks like that'll be the last one of this episode. Then
Sounds good.
let's try and let's make it a good one. I'm spinning my wheel. Okay, so tell me if you're familiar with this character. If you're not, I will save him for another matchup.
Okay.
This is Cousin Eddie.
No.
From National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Not enough to make it good. Like, I've seen the National Lampoon movies, but like I don't know enough about that character to like make it good.
Okay, fair enough. Then I will give you another spin. Oh, perfect. Because we are both stoked on this show recently. This is it's Pierce Hawthorne from Community, Chevy Chase's character.
Yeah. Okay. I got Bender from Futurama.
I think this just writes itself.
Does it?
I feel like it would. You just have to find a way for them to come together.
Okay.
And I think I have an idea, but I'm going to let you go.
I feel like there's a couple routes I could go with this. Okay. I don't know which way I should go with this. If I should go Bender into Community like setting or a neutral setting, or
I say for this one we do double scenarios. So you do your scenario, and then I will tell you the one that I'm thinking of because it's writing itself in my head.
Okay, I really want to hear yours. Okay, so I say Bender decides to go to school. Bender wants to get that associate's degree.
Okay, for whatever reason.
What?
For whatever reason.
Yeah. He sobered up. He went to rehab. He's ready to get his associates in business.
Okay. So, advanced bending.
Advanced bending. Bending 101. So he enrolls in Greendale.
That's what Greendale would have too.
Oh, totally.
Ladders.
Which metals can you bend? He's the star student in the class. He's excelling, and of course that's the easy A class that the study group decided to take that semester. And it's just proving way harder than they thought. So the gang, except Pierce, wants to get Bender to join their study group. Except Pierce wants Bender to join their study group. Pierce does not like the new guy. He's not accepting of change. He doesn't want, Bender to come in and take his place as the grumpy guy in the study group.
Is it because Bender's last name is Rodriguez?
There's some race elements at play, yes. It's no secret Pierce is a racist. Also, he's old and doesn't like technology, and Bender's a robot. So, of course, he does not trust Bender. Just too many elements lining up. He might be Pierce's like arch enemy.
Yeah.
So the study group decides to take a vote. Of course, everyone but Pierce votes to have Bender in. and Pierce just loses it. He goes crazy. He starts yelling racial slurs at Bender. He, attacks him for being a robot. He's anti-robot.
Yeah, probably has something to do with the factory,
Yeah.
his wipe factory.
And Bender just, he had gone to rehab, he had changed, but this fight and instigation just pushed him back to his old tendencies. And he started drinking again, and he goes into Greendale drunk and starts goes into the study room, and him and Pierce just go at it for that spot in the study group.
Yep.
And then they miss their final and they all fail. So
classic Community.
Yeah.
Nice. I can see that. I feel like Pierce wouldn't like Bender for the fact that like he's a robot and just new technology in general.
Yeah.
Or he tries to patent Bender or something, but he can't.
Oh, I can see it.
I could also see them like all working together without Bender to like put in fake versions of the metal they're supposed to bend for the class.
Oh yeah.
But Bender doesn't like it because he can tell.
Yeah. There were a lot of possibilities. I feel like I rushed it in there, but I just didn't know how to like. I feel like it would be a lot of like frustration between the two characters, but to push it to a fight was difficult.
Well, I mean, I can see it. I think you did a good job. I mean, Pierce doesn't get along with most people anyway.
Yeah.
And Bender doesn't get along with people that don't get along with him. And from then on, it just goes that way.
Bender's different, and Pierce is a, old white guy. He likes things that are like him.
Right. Now, my version of this one takes a completely different turn. Okay. For those of you who have not watched Community, sorry, spoilers, but too bad. I watched it, so that means I don't care if anyone else has. But this is post season 6 of Community. This is after. Pierce has died already.
Yeah.
But Troy finishes his boat trip around the world and gains all of the rights and control over Hawthorne Wipes, as has been stated in Pierce's will. Now, for those who don't know, Pierce is part of a completely bullshit cult where when he dies, they give your loved one a lava lamp and says that is their life essence.
I almost went down that route.
But so Troy, now that he is rich, it becomes like as time goes on and on, and suddenly we're close to Futurama times, and Troy has enough money that he is preserved as a head in a jar. Just like pretty much every historical figure in Futurama. That's how they make their culture references. So turns out after he uses his wealth for research, because Troy has put all of his he made the right investments, he made the right businesses, so he's no longer just in control of Hawthorne Wipes or Hawkthorne Wipes, whatever you want to call them. I've heard it pronounced both ways on the show. I've heard it Hawkthorne and Hawthorne, but he's not just in control of that empire, in quotes, but also like a bunch of other stuff because he put his money in the right place.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the rest of his study group was not so financially lucky. So they were not able to be heads in jars. But he still has Pierce's lava lamp and he wants something back. So after careful research, they find that somehow Pierce's lava lamp thing is not complete bullshit after all, and that he is actually in there, and Troy is able to put Pierce's life essence into a robot. Into a new robot, and Pierce is actually back to life in new form. or they like cloned it from
Yeah.
what you know what, we'll go with the clone.
Okay.
So Pierce and Troy are now in charge of their new like they're like their big corporation
Yeah.
now, and they try to buy out Planet Express. And Bender's not having this because they're putting like Pierce's face all over everything, and like he gets stamped with like a Hawthorne Wipes logo, and he doesn't like the sponsorship because it goes against his beliefs.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want to be a sellout. So he starts antagonizing Pierce, and Pierce starts being antagonistic, and Pierce starts being, of course, racist because Bender's last name is Rodriguez, and starts being like just a grumpy old man because he doesn't like all the change that has happened in the year 3000.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you think he's racist? Imagine he wouldn't take kindly to aliens, or
would not take kindly to aliens, and also, I mean, just going by logical progression of things, everyone in the year 3000 is a bit more woke.
Yeah.
So no one is having that, but Bender gets especially offended because he's like, hey, you can't talk that way.
Only I can talk that way.
Because Bender, describes himself as Mexican because his name is Bender Bending Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And Pierce and Bender end up having a brawl in the future.
That was good.
That's how Pierce comes back to life.
I wanted to go with like the life force lamp out. I just couldn't. I thought about like cryo freezing, but I was like, I feel like I'm just ripping off Fry's story here. I can't do that.
There's also like you can also take into account just like clones of Pierce from all of the canisters that everyone received.
Oh my! Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
One of the cast members going off the reunion still has their canister.
Really? I didn't watch the reunion yet.
Obviously not filled with anything, but
yeah, but still funny.
But I'm glad we got Pierce. I do have Troy and Abed on my list as well, but
together or separately?
Together, of course.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's a good Pierce versus Bender match. I'm glad that it was someone that we could pull some strings to get fight.
Yeah.
So, all right. That's been another episode of Impossible Versus Matches with my great friend, Rachel. Thank you for being on the show, Rachel.
Thank you, Joseph, for having me.
And the rest of you have a good time.